Welcome back to the Morph Your Mind podcast. I am your host, Justin Wright. We will hear shortly from my co-host, Chrissy Barron. And today's topic is great in the sense that Chrissy and I really took a slightly different approach or different spin on this. And you're going to get to hear two very useful perspectives that will help with the topic of discussion. And the topic today is, how do we take the competition mindset, or that mindset we get when we're competing, when we're doing something challenging, how do we apply that to other areas of our life and experience that same success or even that same flow state in other areas of our life? And before we dive into it fully, I'd like to thank our title sponsor, Nova 3 Labs. If you use our discount code, which is podcast15, podcast the number 15 at NOVA, the number 3 labs.com, you can order some of the best performance supplements on the market. You can save yourself some dough. So check that out. Order up, save some cash. So when I think about this, the competition mindset, or finding that state, that competitive state with other areas in life, what I immediately default to is, just like everything, this is a practiced skill. So when I'm coaching people on leadership, I tell them leadership is a practiced skill. It's something you can get better at. It's something that we can fix, because a lot of people assume that they either are good leaders or they're not good leaders. And the same is true for competition. Some people just say, oh, I always freeze up in competition. I'm not able to perform well, while other people thrive in that environment. But just like anything, it's a practiced skill. So the first thing I would suggest in these scenarios is put yourself in challenging situations often. We've talked about this in a number of ways, but create situations that have parameters for winning and losing, or that have strict goals or guidelines. You can almost gamify things where you create objectives or create things that need to be done in your regular day-to-day life. So if you actually reshape the parameters around some of the activities you're doing, especially if we're talking workplace things, which is often the case with a lot of people when they ask this question. They want to apply that same competitive spirit to the workplace to get ahead. And if you set parameters or goals and you treat it like a competition, you can start to practice those same situations, those same areas where decisions need to be made rapidly, where you're physiologically showing signs of stress because you have to make that decision. Our nervous system is stimulated. There are a lot of ways that we can do that. And the one thing I like about what Chrissy is going to discuss is she's going to talk about the parallel between hard workouts, hard exercise, hard training for competition, and success in other avenues of life. And so I think that using fitness is a really good way to do this. If you're not somebody who is super into fitness or working out, a lot of our listener base is into that. They're especially coming from the CrossFit community. But if you're somebody who does not regularly exercise and push yourself in that capacity, that's a very good way to learn that ability to focus under pressure and perform under pressure, because you are imposing an outside stress on yourself in those situations. So that's one thing that I think works really well, right? Change the game, set goals and parameters for other avenues, make it competitive in other ways, particularly in the workplace. And if we actually zoom out really quick and we think about that, work in general can be very competitive. A lot of entrepreneurs are addicted to the game of entrepreneurship because it's exactly like a competition. The stakes are even higher than a lot of competitions. You're winning or losing really at the game of life. You're trying to be successful by creating businesses and companies and building teams of people. And that can be invigorating. And if you think about it in that context, sometimes just shifting our perspective can create a powerful change. And we've discussed this in a lot of ways with other topics. But if you actually shift your perspective and understand that work is in and of itself a competition. And so a lot of times maybe you're not applying that mindset to the workplace because you don't understand the correlation, but they really are the same thing and demand the same focus and the same level of attention to detail from us that a challenging competition in a sport or any other athletic arena would. And one thing here that can be very helpful, that can help spur on that performance that comes from a competitive environment. Lean on people around you, lean on your support network. So we've discussed long ago the importance of building and developing a support network, actually finding people to bring onto your team in life who have similar motivations, who want similar things, who want to accomplish similar things. If you can create that collective group, if your inner circle is strong, if those people are high performers, people who want to reach that next level, use that group to create a situation where you're competing, right? Create friendly competition amongst your peers. Find that support network, that strong group that wants to drive each other forward, and start to set goals for the group, or create a game out of success. Pick an avenue that you guys are all pursuing, that you're all working towards, and create a situation where, whoever gets there first is the winner. Have some type of prize, or have the loser pay for a dinner, or whatever it is. Create some type of motivating factor so that you can actually treat that situation as if it's a competition. So if we find ways to leaderboard other aspects of our life, especially when it comes to friendly competition amongst friends, amongst peers who we respect, that is a very easy and effective way to transition that competitive mindset and apply it to other areas. There's a reason that apps and things which gamify certain objectives in life are popular, whether it's weight loss and you're reaching goals and getting awards for that. Even if you look at fitness tracking apps, whether it's on the Apple Watch, whether it's in the Garmin Connect app, when you're doing your longest run, you get a medal, you get an award, it pops up on your app. They're turning it into a competition. They're turning it into a game where there are objectives to accomplish. And there have been a number of studies that show that actually is a bigger motivating factor for a lot of people when they feel like they're checking boxes, when they feel like they're achieving these things, receiving these awards, winning these individual competitions, so to speak, in their day-to-day life. And so finding ways to do that and create some benchmark of success there, especially within your support network, can be incredibly successful for driving you forward and allowing you to treat these individual situations just like you would a competition. And on that note, there's a reason that mastermind groups are incredibly successful. So if you go out, most thought leaders, people who are providing some type of education or self-education service, a lot of times they're selling courses, webinars, whatever, the Tony Robbins of the world, Dean Graziosis, people like that. Oftentimes they have mastermind groups where they create and facilitate discussion amongst people, and those groups often have a good deal of friendly competition. You're looking at people who are fighting to be successful, and they're leaning on each other for advice, for discussion, for support. And so those types of groups can be incredibly effective at making us more likely to compete in our day-to-day life, making us able to channel that thought process or channel that mindset into other aspects of our life. Because when you're surrounded by that level of greatness, by that level of drive, by that level of people trying to better themselves, it's very difficult to not want to compete in that environment. It's very difficult to not want to apply that knowledge and apply what they're doing to your life and step your game up and step up to that next level. And so finding groups like that can be a really good way to elevate your game. It can be a good way to compete. And on that note, I would like to remind everybody that I just formed and created a completely free mastermind group on Facebook. It's called the Morph Mastermind. You can search for it. You can email me, justin@trainedwright.com, to get a direct link to that. I also send it out in my newsletter every week. So if you haven't subscribed to that newsletter, you can find it right on my website, trainedwright.com. That's WRIGHT, Trained Wright. And you can subscribe to that newsletter. You'll get an invite to that mastermind every week that newsletter goes out. So that can be a good way to find that friendly competition, to find that discussion. As we grow that group, the goal will be to continue to help people elevate their game. So look to ways that you can leaderboard your life. Look to ways that you can challenge yourself, set new goals, set new parameters around other activities. Surround yourself with like-minded people who will be pushing you, who will be competitive, who do want to turn life into a game of success. And if you can find ways to gamify different components of that, whether it's using apps, whether it's tracking things amongst your friends, turn it into a friendly competition and then apply that to the other areas of your life so that you are spurred on to compete, to use that competitive drive in other avenues. But the most important thing, the key that unlocks the door, that unlocks everything, is understanding that you need to put yourself in those stressful situations. You need to be able to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You need to be able to get comfortable being in those high pressure competitive situations, For those of you who aren't, start there. Sign up for an event, sign up for a road race, sign up for something that you don't want to do, something that scares you. Sign up to give a speech or to take a public speaking course or do something. A lot of people have said, there's actually a funny statistic, that most people would rather die than get up in front of a group of people and give a speech. So that's a good way to start. Every major city has a Toastmasters group where you can practice your speaking and practice delivering those talks. So maybe that's a place where you put yourself in that deer in a headlights moment. But whatever it is, find those moments so that you can practice the skill of competing, and then find ways to then apply that same spirit to other avenues in your life, which a lot of times is going to rely on your inner circle and on those groups of people who are pushing and striving to get better week in and week out.